Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Gordon, and here's his story. Hi, Ollie. My name is Gordon, and I am writing this letter in hopes to find someone to listen to my full story and help me bring closure to a lifetime of abuse. I live in Canada, and I'm 48 years old, and will try to summarize my overall experience in a few paragraphs. There have been several events in the last 2 years that have made me examine my life, and in this pursuit, I have realized that my mother and certain members of her family are not the people I thought they were. Narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse by proxy, and parental alienation are some of the recognized terms I've concluded encompass what I've experienced. The major topic is sexual abuse and sexual misconduct in my life from a very young age, and the circumstances which have seriously impacted my life and others. I hold my biological mother entirely responsible for the destruction of my childhood and potential success as an adult. Through constant manipulation and deception, she has built a gang of individuals who have interfered with all aspects of my life, all my life, for control, greed, and delusional revenge. My father died in 2010, and I inherited a substantial amount of money, which has been slowly taken from me in various ways, mostly to my reactions to harassment and deceit. My mother demanded half my inheritance shortly after my father's death, and I refused. Then all hell broke loose. Yet, well, if your father wanted to leave it to her, he would have. She has been divorced from my father and remarried for over 30 years. So the demand threw me into a spin that slowly started to open my eyes. You know, that's that fucking, see, you know what that is? That's that liberal woman mentality. That's that feminist mentality. Even after you divorced the guy, got remarried, 30 years with another man, I still want half your shit. I'm still going to take half your shit. And she probably alienated you from him because you said parental alienation as well. So I'm sure you grew up thinking he was a complete fucking pile of dog shit because of her. God. How do you leave somebody, marry someone else for 30 years, and then demand half their fucking inheritance? But we live in a patriarchal society. Remember that. Remember the patriarchy, everybody. Male privilege. That's woman privilege right there. She had been divorced from my father and remarried for over 30 years, so the demand threw me into a spin that slowly started to open my eyes. Through my research into narcissism, I realized that my mother intentionally subjected me to toxic people and sexual situations at a very young age, which objectives are now clear to me. I believe through that this is a generational sickness that is not only affecting myself but many people around her, most of which I conclude will never have any idea. I have been unable to function as a normal person for the last 10 years, and not by my own devices. I am constantly putting out fires in my life and harassed by individuals unknown and known to me. There is a smear campaign that precedes me before I move or go anywhere, and simple tasks with institutions are met with complications more than should be usual. The effects of my childhood have been typical of child abuse in many of my actions and lifestyle to date. I have come to my own realizations, though, through I've come to my own realizations through research, even though I have had many encounters with law enforcement and other government agencies. No one sees the signs. I now find myself alone in a life which seems now to be predetermined by my mother in order to obtain my inheritance or deprive me of it. There have been numerous attempts to set me up for crimes or destroy my credibility by her family, and her friends. I believe that any contact law enforcement has had with my mother and her associates about me have been entirely accepted, and the whole story has never been investigated, therefore the truth hidden. I have literally driven my I have literally been driven from my hometown, and I am being harassed in the town I presently live in. In my community, I've been approached and warned by community watch group members aggressively. I have had my home robbed and vandalized numerous times with police reports for all incidents. Several family members have made negative comments about children around me, which leads me to believe I am labeled as a pedophile, which explains the actions of people unknown to me. Wouldn't surprise me if they start putting out rumors like that. That's what it sounded like to me. I have never been questioned by police or anyone else about this, but there have been several sexual situations in my life which at the time seemed insignificant, but now I realize that they were not random, but staged with the intention of destroying my reputation and credibility. I have had an obvious unnatural amount of contact between fire department personnel in all areas in which I have resided, and all have been negative. Many people in which I had traumatic or negative experiences in my youth with have, for the most part, all reemerged into my life again as though pre-planned to do so, certainly not by my invitation. The more I tell the truth of my life experiences, the more unreal they seem to be, to the point that, for me, to tell the truth makes me look like a liar or delusional. Whether my experience can get attention or justice, I now know what my father and his family went through with my mother. Myself being used as a tool, I am responsible for making her deceit possible, and so far successful. It is my desire to forget and move on now that I have the answers to my problems of my youth, but I am still being harassed to this day, and I understand the damage that has been done to my reputation, whether by my own actions or that of others. In my experience, truth and justice do not prevail except on television. Anytime I have contacted police, I have been met with disinterest, a negative response to obvious injustices. The child abuse I had suffered by proxy using my father and friends has now been replaced with police and strangers. I am now at constant property line war with various neighbors and have no social circle remaining, which is against my desires and nature. I have no base in life and never did. It was destroyed before I was born, and it seems too late to create one. I have gone through the emotional spectrum of realization and found hope in reading the Bible and watching YouTube videos on narcissism, as I do not feel alone in my situation anymore. I realize this type of abuse is common and, most importantly, not my doing. The parallels between the description of the Jezebel spirit and my mother are disturbing, and the traits of a person with narcissistic personality disorder or psychopathy are also obvious to me now. I have obvious psychological trauma and newly developed personality issues from all these experiences, but I hesitate to go to counseling as I'm afraid this will further tarnish my credibility, putting me in a situation where the focus could be on mental illness on my part, rather than simply a mother who lied and deceived her own son, causing uncontrollable consequences. I have led a promiscuous and carefree lifestyle up to a couple of years ago, making my issues and thinking no one was paying attention or cared what I did. Now I realize certain people were paying attention and are now trying to direct what I do. I have a lot of regret and shame for many of my actions in my life, especially with sex and relationships, but I believe my shame can be explained with an underlying distrust for women and a natural attraction to narcissistic women in general. Yeah, your mother fucked you up. And you were raised by another baby boomer, obviously another baby boomer. Those baby boomers fuck you up. They fuck you up. My sexual experience as a child involved both boys and girls, and I am not bi and have no attraction to either men or children, to be clear. As well, I don't like any kind of unusual sex, but I've had more than my share of one-night stands and less than stable women. Enough girls had always liked me as a young man, plus I was kind of popular, so this would seem to be a natural area to try to control and attack. I spent most of my youth working in bars and a few strip clubs with lots of alcohol, patches of drugs, and loose women throughout. Probably why the police were disinterested in my plight, and the community hassles me with mixed heinous gossip. I'm in a bad spot, it seems. I would love to open the can of worms and have things investigated, but I don't know what to do in order to be successful. I have already established no contact, and I have a problem in continuing this for a lifetime. I know there are no specific situations stated here, but any have a lengthy background. However, generally with the same people are involved. And I think is that where it ends? I'm just making, because it seems like it cuts off abruptly. I'm just making sure. I just got to open this up again. Yeah, that's the end. Look, Gordon, it's hard to know what you want because you're not telling me what you want investigated. No, it seems like that you feel like you're being gang stalked. But if you're being gang stalked by rumor, there's nothing the police are going to do about it or can do about it. I mean, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree here. Look, you were raised by a sexually suspect baby boomer degenerate. And when you're raised by the baby boomer degenerate, you're going to have fucked up relationships. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You coming here and saying like you want the police to get involved and this and that, you need to figure out how to keep these people out of your life permanently. Permanently. This bitch fucked you up. She fucked you up sexually. She fucked up your relationship. She made you paranoid. That's what they do. That's what they do. Your goal shouldn't be, okay, well, how do I trifle with him now and report him to the police? Like, your goal needs to be to get away from them completely. And if that means, Gordon, that you got to pick up and move again to somewhere where nobody, excuse me, coronavirus, anybody knows, no one can know where you are. You need to fall off the grid. If you have an inheritance from your father, which is exactly what she wants, she still thinks she's fucking entitled to it, though she left him 30 years ago, for 30 years and married some other guy. She still thinks she's entitled to that fucking money. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's the system. Another thing that the fucking baby boomers gave us. Feminist entitlement. This bitch fucked you up. And your only goal in regards to dealing with the baby boomer degenerate should be how to be no contact permanently. That's it. That's it. Figure it out. Move on. And that means you're going to have to isolate, and more people are going to come, and you're going to have a harder time with interpersonal relationships. That's something you're going to have to work on. And at some point, you are going to have to get into some kind of professional counseling and trust someone. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much, Gordon, for your contribution and your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away, and believe me, Google and YouTube are going to make that happen eventually. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to follow me on the Library Backup app as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.